Starting to look a little crazy here, aren't I? Hey, what's up, YouTube? Alf here, talking about a subject that I think is maybe on a lot of your minds after nearly 2 weeks of Master League GBL, and that is, how do we fix this thing? I think we've all identified a lot of issues as far as the Master League meta, and today we're going to talk about those. I'm going to propose a few simple moveset fixes that I think might shake up the meta in a way and make it a whole lot more interesting to play. So excited to get into that with you. Make sure if you're enjoying our channel to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us grow our channel here, and do come catch us streaming every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch. We have a lot of fun there, and I think you'll enjoy it. But without further ado, let's jump into our discussion of Master League, its faults, and maybe how just tweaking a few different Pokemon could really help the metagame a lot. Well, there might be a lot of problems with the Master League meta. I think realistically, any conversation about fixing the Master League metagame all has to revolve around discussion of this giant, weird, alien steel dragon looking motherfucker. Yes, Dialga. Sorry about the cursing. Dialga has a really interesting place in the meta as essentially the top Pokemon, and really the issue isn't necessarily anything specific about Dialga. Its moves are actually pretty subpar aside from Dragon Breath, which is very good. Its attack stat is really high, which allows it to do a lot of work with Dragon Breath, but its charge moves actually are kind of crummy. Draco Meteor is a very strong move, especially as a closing move, but the fact that it seriously debuffs you makes it a pretty high risk reward play. What makes Dialga special is, especially because of Draco Meteor, it can force a shield on basically any of its counters. Currently, there's very few, if not any, Pokemon that can beat a Dialga without using a shield. So it makes a very reliable safe swap, and it ends up sort of consolidating the meta around it because of how it forms cores with other Pokemon. So what we're going to look at today are 5 Pokemon that I think would absolutely shake up the meta. Not all of them are Dialga counters, but we will, of course, start there. All right, I think any discussion about how to improve Master League should start with these 3 Pokemon, ones that I'm sure that while they were in raids, you were not super thrilled about seeing. The Swords of Justice all have fighting typing. They all will eventually have access to the move Sacred Sword, which is a body slam clone with fighting typing. But their current issue is that each and every one of them has absolutely terrible fast moves. So the real solution, the easiest solution to making Dialga just a little bit worse in Master League is to give these Pokemon a reasonable fast move. Sure, counter would be ideal. The issue with counter is that none of these Pokemon learn counter in the main series, and we know at this point that Niantic does not tend to give Pokemon moves that they don't learn in the main series. But they also have access to Rock Smash, which is a terrible move currently. By making these Pokemon actually useful, by giving them a reasonable quick move, they all beat Dialga, and they satisfy the condition of beating him without needing to expend a shield to do it. It's a little risky, but they can absolutely pull that off. They also introduced some new types into the meta, especially Virizion, who would be our first viable grass type within the meta, and especially given some of the other changes I'm about to suggest, that's going to be super important to maintaining balance here. I think this is the easiest solution to making Dialga feel a little bit worse, is just give us a proper counter, and all 3 of these Pokemon can do it very effectively. All right, the second Pokemon that I think could do a whole lot of good as a Dialga counter with just a small improvement is Groudon. Groudon's big issue in the meta right now, all of its moves are big old closing moves. It has Earthquake, it has Fire Blast, it has Solar Beam. All of those moves hit very hard, but they're not reliable when it comes to getting wins while shields are up. So how do we fix Groudon? Well, it's easy. Give him Earth Power. Earth Power is a faster firing Earth move. It's going to be way good enough to make sure that you counter Dialga even while shields are up. The other option is to just release Precipice Blades. Groudon's exclusive move has still not been released. We don't know what it's going to look like, but if it's a decent ground move, which it almost certainly will be, it'll absolutely do the trick. This will, again, make Dialga a little bit less safe as a switch. Groudon can absolutely, with Earth Power, win without having to expend a shield. And that sort of helps make sure that there's a few extra checks and balances against what is currently the top of the meta. All right, now this one I might get some flack for. Kyogre is already pretty powerful in the Master League meta, but Kyogre's play is pretty telegraphed. You're always throwing Surfs. You might try and throw a Blizzard against one of the dragons, but it's always very, very telegraphed. So unless shields are down, you really don't have much of a chance in any of those matchups. So the solution for Kyogre, make it just a little bit better in the meta, give it Ice Beam. Ice Beam fires much, much faster than Blizzard. It's going to be able to threaten some of the dragons, especially the Giratinas that will be making hay, especially with better fighters in the meta. And Kyogre with Ice Beam has absolutely savage matchups across the entire Master League field. So much so that I think it would become a centralizing force, which isn't half bad given that we've also now introduced a grass Pokemon in Virizion. So Kyogre, Ice Beam, a match made in heaven, I think. All right, we're on to number 4 on the list. I'm pretty sure the second you see this, you're going to know exactly what I'm going to suggest, so why not slow roll it? Give Dragonite Superpower. You've already teased us. I know we voted against it, but people frequently vote against their best interests, don't they? Superpower Dragonite is an excellent Pokemon in the meta. Dragonite lacks a coverage move currently. You could run Hurricane, which doesn't hit really anything all that hard. You're really just stuck using Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, and then another Dragon move. Giving it Superpower gives it a coverage move against most of its counters, against all of the Steel types. It doesn't necessarily flip any of those matchups. You're not winning because you have Superpower, but it does give you a way to close out against a Steel type that's bought into counter. It gives you a reason for them to shield and make play a little bit more interesting. Dragonite with Superpower would be a wonderful choice. You've already indicated that you want to give this Pokemon Superpower. Look at it. Look how thick its arms are. Actually, its arms are kind of cute and small. It would be awesome if Dragonite had Superpower. It would absolutely give it more play and give you another choice as far as the Dragon spot on your team. It's just increasing the variety in the Master League entirely. All right, our last Pokemon I want to make some suggestions to is Palkia. Palkia feels so left out by the fact that its partner in crime, Dialga, is the absolute center of the Master League meta. Palkia has the really interesting water and dragon typing, which makes it a supremely good Kyogre counter. The problem with Palkia is, aside from Dragon Breath, it again only has giant moves. It has Fire Blast, it has Draco Meteor, it has Hydro Pump. All of those moves are just too slow for it to do much of anything other than counter Kyogre really well. So I'm going to go crazy. Just give it anything. And by anything, I mean preferably Dragon Claw and Surf. That's a crazy moveset. Dragon Breath, Dragon Claw, Surf would be a wonderful moveset. It'd be very spammy. It would do a lot of damage to a lot of things, but it's not actually groundbreaking. It wouldn't destroy the meta by any stretch of the imagination. It'd be a very good Kyogre counter, which will be very good once Ice Beam is added to its pool. And it will still lose to Dragonites and Dialgas. It'll still lose to some of the Steel types. It would be a wonderful addition to the meta. And a balancing force, giving you again another option in that dragon spot. Each of them now has their pros and their cons, and that would just make the meta all that much more interesting. I hope you've enjoyed our look at just a few of the changes they could make to Master League to make it a little bit more of an interesting metagame. I don't think Master League is inherently broken. It does have some balance issues in that Pokemon are throttled just by their stats as far as their ability to be a part of the meta. There's only a limited number of Pokemon that can be altered to actually make an impact until more are released. For now, I think those 5 Pokemon would absolutely shake up the meta in a way that would make it really interesting. You'd have a lot less of the same rock, paper, scissors matchups. You'd have some Pokemon with a little extra use. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.